What is the worst game on Steam you can get for specifically $1? If you've ever tried to look that up on the app, then you know how frustrating it can be, since the filtering options can't really let you sort through specific prices, and you can't really sort through the lowest ratings first. But I found out recently that if you use a Steam database website that has a much better filtering system, then I can look for the best and the worst rated Steam games that are specifically priced at $1. So let's go ahead and try some of these games out and rank them on a tier list based on best value you can get for your $1 to basically just throwing money down the toilet. And I think a good place to start here is with Shower with Your Dad Simulator, which has over 7,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, and immediately after starting Shower with Your Dad Simulator, I realized I made a mistake. And it's not because the game wasn't fun, but it's because none of the dads were censored like on the Steam page, so they were all just hanging loose with their 8-pixel long wieners. And the worst part about it is that when I went over to the settings to try to turn off the nudity, well, there's no way to turn it off. You know, it's all just a troll option. But in terms of the game itself, you think it's just a basic matching game that's in there, but the more you play it, the more you realize that it's not just that. You know, you start taking different game modes, you start unlocking different power-ups. One time while I was playing, I got randomly taken into like a retro level 2, and at one point while I'm playing it, I'm catching myself actually playing it because I'm having fun, and not because I was just doing it to put it on a tier list. So I definitely think that with Shower with Your Dad Simulator, you're definitely getting your money's worth. I would give it an easy A tier. After that, I decided to go play The Tower, that for a quick moment, I thought I just accidentally stumbled into digital gold because the game looked amazing from the Steam page, but it had very negative reviews though. So obviously I just had to check it out and see what it was all about. So starting off, the graphics and the dark setting were looking pretty awesome. The premise is that you're a man who's been wrongly imprisoned and has to escape to rescue his wife and child. And the Steam page called it a constantly expanding dungeon crawling experience where you're finding your way through different corridors of your prison, but going over the game when I actually got the chance to really sit down and play it, while the game does look aesthetically great, well, unfortunately it's just a walking experience, and half the time you're really just listening to this guy just go on and on his monologue. Like, the whole game takes you about 20 minutes to finish. 10 of those were just listening to the monologue. The other 10 was really me just being stuck in a dark part of the dungeon that I couldn't even get through because the lights were so dim. I really just couldn't see anything. But once you get to a part of the cellar where you hear a woman's voice, that's it. The game's over. Like, the credits start rolling and that's the end. So it really is an incomplete game, if you even want to call it a game. So I would say it's a B for aesthetics, D for gameplay. So I would put The Tower at like a C tier, you know, a perfect sweet spot. Now, I don't want to give you guys any spoilers for this list, but Sakuya Izoyoi Gives You Advice and Dabs has to be one of the worst games I've ever played. Like, first of all, I had to look up who Sakuya Izoyoi was just to kind of get a feel of what I should expect here, and apparently she's a character from another video game called Touhou Project. But the game really is just a character on a PNG background of a beach that's supposed to give you advice in a relaxed mental vacation. And let me just say that I have no idea how this game managed to get over 1,700 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, and you know, I should have known from looking at the store page that it was going to be bad, but I still wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt because it just ranked so high as one of the best rated $1 Steam games. But Sakuya Izoyoi is supposed to give you advice based on how you're feeling, and what really ends up happening is that you get 3 options to choose from, whether you're feeling sad, anxious, or lost, and then those options break off into 3 more options before Sakuya just goes onto a little monologue and just gives you advice. So you click through all the text-based dialogue, and at the very end of it all, it doesn't matter if the advice helped you or not, you get a dab, like the character dabs and the game resets, and that's it. Like, I'm not trying to dig too much into the game because at least it's trying to do some good in the world, but the reality is that the game really isn't good at all. So Sakuya Izoyoi Gives You Advice and then dabs, I'm gonna have to give it an F tier. I really am. Dr. Livesey Ramen Death Edition is the next one we're going to cover, and if you go based off the Steam description itself, you don't learn anything. But for some reason, it also has over 11,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. So I guess it's just really that kind of game you just have to trust to see what it's all about. But for some reason, once you're in the game, the default language is in Russian, and there's ear-blasting funk playing non-stop, and everything in the UI is vibing to the music, so get ready for the headache. But it truly is a bullet hell with an interesting art style, and while there's rogue pirates that are coming at you and you're just fighting them non-stop. Like, I don't really know how to describe it, but Dr. Livesey has Sigma Male aura, and just playing the game makes me want to go to the gym. Also, I kept unlocking new achievements like every 2 seconds in this game. It's like every single item you pick up is an achievement, but like I mentioned, it's just really hard to focus on what the hell you're doing inside the game because there's so much aggressive music playing non-stop. Someone called it the degen version of Risk of Rain, and you know, honestly, I kind of see it, so I'm just gonna give this game a B tier for aesthetics and vibe, I would have easily played it in the A tier if it didn't just give me a headache to play. Alright, here's 3 back-to-back games that I played that are undeniably F tier, no questions asked. The first one being Mesozoica, which is supposed to be a dinosaur theme park tycoon that started off as a Kickstarter and actually managed to get over 700 backers at the time. But unfortunately, I can't really say much about it since the game really didn't launch for me. Like, I don't know what's wrong with the game, but it just didn't want to even open for me. And according to some of the Steam reviews I read, a lot of people are struggling with the exact same issue where they buy the game and they can't even open it or play it. And the few people that are able to actually get into the game, well, they got nothing but horrible things to say about the game, to be honest. So that's $1 down the drain. The next one is Rescuers 2019, which is basically just an open area with a bunch of enemies on the map. And it says in the description that you're free to explore the surrounding area to familiarize yourself with the terrain, which is really just a fancy way of saying that there's nothing to do other than just walk around and shoot enemies. The game doesn't have any objectives, any menus, or any settings. You literally just start the game, you spawn into the map, and that's it. There's nothing to do. And once you're bored, you just have to manually close it because, well, the program doesn't even have an exit button either. So that's another $1 wasted. And then, of course, you have Zombie Variant, which, going off the description of the game, something here smells a little fishy because players are free to explore the surrounding areas, and if that sounds way too familiar to Rescuers 2019, it's the same game. It really is just the same game. Like, it has the same guns, it has the same animations, just different NPCs and different levels. So yeah, another $1 wasted, another bottom tier game. But after sifting through all the garbage, I needed a palate cleanse, so I wanted to go check out what Toree 2 was all about. And this one seemed right up my alley because it's a 3D platformer game, you know, one of my favorite genres of all time. And as soon as you boot up Toree 2, if you grew up in the low polygon eras of the Nintendo 64 or the Dreamcast, it's gonna hit you with an immediate wave of nostalgia. And going over this platformer without even getting into the details of the aesthetics and how cute it looks, well, it's fast, it's smooth to course through all the levels, and despite the fact that, you know, I fell and died off a couple of times here and there, well, the game actually felt like I was taking an actual break from life. You know, most games have a degree of challenge to them, and this one kind of just felt like I was just vibing. I was just not really stressing at all. I was just listening to the music, enjoying the aesthetics, and, you know, it's an overall cute 15-minute experience for the base game that you can also really challenge yourself for and go the completionist route if you want to go and collect all the stars in each level and find a way to unlock the other characters in the game. But I will say though that sometimes when I was playing Toree 2, for some reason it felt like I was part of some creepy pasta. Like, you had this game that seemed completely innocent 99% of the time, but then out of nowhere it hits you with like this disturbing imagery, or like a monster that slowly starts eating away at the level. There's skulls that are just unnecessarily there for some reason. You know, things just started happening around the level that had me expecting the boss fight at the end to have some sort of jump scare or something. Spoiler alert though, there was no jump scare. Maybe I was just paranoid, but apart from that, I will say that Toree 2, the easiest S tier on this list. Next up is Labyrinth of Atlantis, which is really just a funny way to describe a walking on an infinite boardwalk simulator. The Steam page says that it will give you the opportunity to test your intuition, and it has mostly negative reviews. But honestly, once I got into the game and started walking around, I realized that the game doesn't really make any sense. Like, the whole objective is to collect these 6 notes that spawn into the map in order to win, while having to avoid these robotic dinosaurs. And there's also like a fire animation that shows up, and it just makes the whole page really just annoying to look at it. Everything starts glitching out before you get randomly teleported to another part of the map, and that also includes being teleported outside of the boardwalk, making you lose instantly. And the whole win condition of the game is entirely luck-based, because you can get the same note over and over and over again, or you can get them all very quickly and beat the game in just a matter of minutes. At least this one, I gotta say, you know, at least it has an end goal, and, you know, it has an objective, unlike Zombie Variant that we talked about earlier, but it definitely gets an F in level design and gameplay. The dinosaurs are stupid, the teleportation thing hurts my eyes, and overall it was really just a waste of a game, a waste of a time, and a waste of $1, so it's definitely an F tier game. Do you guys want to know where I got the most value out of my $1 that I spent? It was on this game called Blood and Bacon, and it's called the bloodiest indie game that's also a multiplayer shooter game where you gotta survive against waves after waves of pigs. Like, these pig creatures, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and you know, there's a reason why this game was on the top of the highest rated $1 Steam games with over 25,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. And it's because the entertainment value you get off this game is honestly like a lot. Like, you're gonna spend a lot of time playing it if you end up liking it, it. There's over 25 different enemies, there's boss fights, you get to unlock different weapons too, and the fact that it's a multiplayer game is honestly one of the main selling points to it too. Though I do have to warn you that it is a very gory game. Like, there's pig guts flying everywhere, there's pigs that keep chasing you even after you blow their heads off, and the main NPC that just guides you through the whole tutorial is this one farmer that, well, he's in a bit of a sticky situation here. But Blood and Bacon is a game that you can at least get a couple of hours of fun out of it. There's a lot of bonus content in it as well, and if you're a fan of that early PS1, PS2 aesthetics, then you're just gonna have a good time. Me personally, I have to give this game an easy S tier. On the other side of that coin though, we have The Janitor, which is a horror game about a janitor specifically called Max Taylor. For some reason they have to really emphasize on the name, where the gameplay features breathtaking horror elements, physically enemies, and the fear of darkness. So obviously I had to check this game out to see what the physically enemies were all about, but you know, unfortunately the reality of the game is that you're dumped into a random building with a flashlight that doesn't even work properly for some reason. It illuminates your arm, not what's in front of you. Like, that's not how flashlights work. And so it's too dark to see anything, the graphics don't really help in progressing through the game, and there's an experiment on the loose that has the absolute dumbest AI you will ever see. Like, you can tell right away this is just a bad asset flip, just like a lot of the other games here that have overwhelmingly negative reviews. The monster isn't really that scary, to be honest. Like, there isn't even a jump scare in the game. Like, once he touches you, you get a message saying, feeling safe isn't a feeling you can feel, which, yeah, and you know, I'm sure that means something. Like, I didn't feel like putting too much game into this game because I honestly just genuinely could not see what I was doing. But apparently from what I saw in the reviews, you have to fix an elevator to then escape through some catacombs, and that's how you beat the game. But overall, you know, it's a pretty bad experience. You know, it's a very easy D tier. Yeah, not F. Let's put it at D tier. This next game, I don't really want to trash talk it because it is really fun. I just don't think it's worth the $1. Like, it's called Bit Blaster XL and it's a fast-paced arcade shooter, kind of like Galaga. So I feel like this would be the kind of game that you would find at a Dave & Buster's right next to the Crossy Road, for example. And to be honest, it really isn't much to say about the game since it only has 2 controls, just move around and shoot, and just survive for as long as possible. There's coins in the game that you can collect to unlock more ships, but that is honestly just about it. It really just has that arcade feeling to it of just doing the one thing and do that thing for as long as possible. I would say it's either at the bottom of B tier or like right at the middle, because Bit Blaster XL is a perfectly okay game. Okay, so next up is Game Tycoon 1.5, where you're playing as a developer just trying to make it in the gaming industry by, you know, releasing awesome games. It has over 300 very negative reviews on Steam, and for some reason, this company has Game Tycoon 1.5, it has Game Tycoon 2, but there's no Game Tycoon 1. But there's so much bad that you can say about this game that I kind of just have to agree with what the negative reviews are saying, where they say that the only thing that they found entertaining about the game is the fact that they didn't apply their own rules to have a successful game in order to make this one. Yeah, this is a really bad game. Like, the voice lines overlap with each other, the gameplay is really just uninteresting, and you know, let's not even get started with all the bugs that the game has. But Game Tycoon 1.5, it looks like it was made to trick people who bought the original Game Tycoon that was made by a completely separate company. It was a super successful game. So this is really just a classic bait and switch game, not really worth the money in my opinion. I did play it to the point where I finally got the chance to release a game to the public, but by then I was like, wow, I really just wasted all my time playing this, huh? So yeah, still technically playable, so let's give it a D tier. After that very complicated experience, I felt like I needed to simplify my life. So I went to go play Montaro, which is a cute little fun game about a doge that kept me entertained for about 3 minutes, to be honest. Unfortunately, because this is a cutesy little pixelated game where you're running to collect coins, you're stealing panties to get lives, and you're also trying not to get hit by other animals that are on the stage. Like, there really isn't much to talk about the game because it really just is that simple. You're collecting coins to unlock more costumes, and it's just like that Google dinosaur game that shows up on Chrome when you don't have any internet. Like, honestly speaking, I don't understand why this game has over 10,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. Seems a little excessive in my opinion that this amount of people are playing it and leaving a positive review. Like, yeah, you know, I get it. It's an okay game. It's fun. It just seems a little excessive, you know? Maybe it just wasn't my kind of game. But because this is my tier list and I'm very biased and this is my experience, my lived experience, let's give it a C tier. So after that, I wanted to check out a game called Viy Nai because, you know, the name really stood out to me. It was very unique, kind of just quirky sounding. It kind of reminded me of like the really old Final Fantasy games. So I spent my $1, and once I got into the game, I realized I made a mistake because this game looks like it was made all using default assets in like 10 minutes. It opens up in the tiniest window possible and there's no way to maximize it. There's no real objective in the game other than just wander around and open chests that give you like random items you don't even need. And there's a few ladies scattered around the level that you can pay to sleep with or sleep next to, and you know, I guess they lullaby you to sleep or something. But the sleeping keeping itself doesn't really do anything because there's no healing to be done, there's no combat in the game, there's nothing to do. The staircases are just decorative pieces, and even the items you pick up, you can't even see them on your inventory. Like, why am I picking up a longsword from a chest if 1, I can't equip it, and 2, there's no enemies to fight? It's really just a wander around simulator with no objective. And the Steam description itself says that you have to find an invisible door to find a princess, but I was going through some of the Steam reviews to see if anyone else found some princess, but the reality is that there is no princess, you know, the game is just unfinished. But overall, it's basically just like most of the other negative games that are on this list. They're just incomplete messes that are trying to extract money out of you. That's what it is. So Viy Nai unfortunately gets a very well-deserved F tier. And yeah, guys, that is the entire tier list. Let me know what you think in a comment down below, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.